Hey, welcome to the Pitchability Show. This is episode 8. We're going to be talking about weighted balls. This is the show where you develop from the ground up. Hey, this is Tom Oldham. Welcome to the Pitchability Show. Hope you're having a good week. As a reminder, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Tom Oldham Baseball, on Instagram @Tom Oldham Baseball, and on Twitter @Tom Oldham 19. Got a couple questions that we're going to answer tonight. One, dealing with weighted balls and how much is too much. And two, we're talking about remote training and is it effective. So we're going to start with weighted balls. Weighted balls, they are something that we use in our training groups. You've seen that if you've watched this show at all. We use the plyo care balls, the squishy ones, and then also, I don't have it with me, but the actual weighted baseballs, feel like a baseball, all of that. So the question was, I want to do a weighted ball program, but how do I know how many throws to do and how much is too much, that sort of thing. So the big thing, you hear me harp on this a lot, is you need to have a plan with your training. Don't just roll out of bed and throw what you feel like throwing that day. It's important that you have a well thought out plan and your speed work, your strength work is synced up with what you're doing from a throwing standpoint. So for weighted balls, I would recommend in the off season no more than twice during a week, and with specific drills. So you need to make sure that you're not just throwing a weighted ball to say that you throw a weighted ball. There needs to be specific drills around using the weighted balls, and you need to understand which weights to use when and why, and it needs to be based on you as an individual pitcher and your constraints, either from a functional standpoint or from a biomechanical standpoint. You need to understand all those things before you get into a weighted ball program. A weighted ball program is not something that you should just do because everybody's doing it. It really needs to be very specific to you, and from there you can determine what drills are most appropriate to help you in your development. So the question is really actually around how much is too much. So again, I know I'm giving a very vague answer, but there's so many factors that go into volume of throws and which drills to do and when to do them that there isn't a black and white answer. So I'm sorry if you were looking for one, but there really just isn't. I would make sure that you understand if you have any deficits internally or externally from your total shoulder motion, and what drills that you're doing to help those, to correct those. If you're working on mapping mechanics, those are all things, those are all factors that play into determining how much you should be doing, if weighted balls are even appropriate for you. And really the last thing that I would say on weighted balls is you can't think of weighted balls as the end all be all. That's like saying that you only go into the weight room and bench. It doesn't make any sense. You need to make sure that you're focusing on total body strength. Weighted balls are really good for a number of things, but it's not the only thing. You shouldn't just center your entire training program around the weighted balls. You need to make sure that you're encompassing a lot of different training elements when you're working. So that's what I would say as far as weighted balls. If I didn't answer it adequately, let me know, and I can give you a little bit more color around my thoughts there. Second thing was all around remote training. So is remote training effective? And I do think that remote training can be effective depending on the person doing remote training, meaning not necessarily the instructor. Well, the instructor is important, but the player and their dedication and commitment to the remote training is very important. I think there's a reason that this really hasn't taken off so much, because there's so much to be gained from being in a training group environment or being able to experience the training in person, that I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. If you want to, if you live at a place across the country where you can't really get into any sort of training type environment, then remote training is probably the way to go. And if you dedicate yourself to it and the training program itself is built by somebody who knows what they're talking about, then yeah, it can absolutely be effective. Look, the training in general, a lot of times has to do with how much the player wants to dedicate to the training, and not so much the training itself. I think a lot of times people get so wrapped up into specific drills or what have you. The most important thing is that the player is understanding how to work and how to trust the process, and realizing that there aren't shortcuts to getting where they want to go. So if remote training helps you do that, then more power to you. So those are the questions that I wanted to answer tonight. If you've got any, shoot me an email, tom@tomoldhamBaseball.com, or on Facebook, you can message me. Otherwise, I will see you on the next show.